Good evening, everybody.
Welcome. Good to see you.
Good to see all of you,
Thanks.
literally.
Right? In this virtual world. Thank you, folks, for joining us. We're just going to give it another couple minutes to see if we have more folks joining us. So welcome, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started. And welcome everyone to today's public meeting regarding the consolidation of Norcal Waterworks with Del Oro. The State Water Board values and appreciates your participation, attention, and patience in this virtual space. My name is Elizabeth Herrera, and I'm an engagement coordinator with the State Water Board Office of Public Participation. I will be your moderator for today's meeting. State Water Board staff are here to present information and background on the consolidation of Norcal Waterworks with Del Oro. After the presentation, we've made time to answer any questions and hear any comments you may have. Thank you to the Los Molinos residents for taking time out of your evening to attend this meeting regarding your water system. We are eager to answer your questions and to hear from you. Let us begin with the purpose of the California Water Boards. What do we do? The Water Board's mission is to preserve, enhance, and restore the quality of California's water resources and drinking water for the protection of the environment, public health, and all beneficial uses, and to ensure proper water resource allocation and efficient use for the benefit of present and future generations. And our work here today helps us provide clean and safe, affordable water to all Californians. So let's take just a minute to talk about meeting logistics and an overview of what we'll be discussing today. This meeting is being held virtually through Zoom, and this State Water Board presentation is being recorded. We will stop recording before moving on to the public comment period because we welcome and encourage your open and honest communication. Remember, this meeting is also an opportunity for you to provide feedback and ask questions on this process. Next slide, please. Thanks. Everyone will have their microphones muted until the public comment segment begins after the presentation. The chat to all Zoom function has been disabled, but participants can still chat with the host or co-host if needed. If you'd like to provide a comment during the comment period, please raise your virtual hand, and that raised hand function can be found at the bottom of your screen. You can click the reactions button and then raise hand. This will help us locate you in the attendee list. When you are called on, you'll be asked to unmute yourself to speak. If you're joining via phone today, it doesn't look like we have anyone via phone, so I won't worry about that. But if you have any technical issues, you can put it in the Teams chat, or you can email us at safer@waterboards.ca.gov. And that'll be in the Teams chat here in just a minute for your reference. Here's our meeting agenda for tonight. We will start off with some background information on Norcal Waterworks, followed by an overview of the consolidation process with Del Oro. We will discuss community involvement and how your involvement is critical to this process, some additional next steps, and lastly, we'll open up for questions and comments from you. The work of this meeting and the team behind it is brought to you by the Safe and Affordable Fund for Equity and Resilience Drinking Water Program, better known as SAFER. SAFER uses short and long-term strategies to ensure Californians who lack safe, adequate, and affordable drinking water receive it as quickly as possible, and that the water systems serving them establish sustainable solutions. The program provides funding and other solutions to water systems throughout California and works with community partners and local expertise through the SAFER Advisory Group to prioritize solutions, plan strategies, and advise State Water Board drinking water policies and priorities. For more information, visit waterboards.ca.gov/SAFER. Once again, thanks for being here today. Now I'll hand the mic over to Ariel.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Hi, everyone. My name is Ariel Chavez, and I'm an engineer with the Division of Drinking Water's Northern Engagement Unit. And today I'm going to be giving you all some background information on the Norcal Waterworks system, which hopefully will help give you a better understanding of the State Water Board's concerns about the system and the reason why they have been ordered to complete mandatory consolidation. Next slide, please. Thank you. Okay, so let's briefly go over the water system basics. It's a pretty simple system, but this is going to help give a better understanding of the violations that are associated with the system, which I will be describing later. And then let me just note that from here on out, I am going to be referring to the Norcal Waterworks system as just water system. Okay, so the water system serves a population of 45 people through 17 service connections. There is just one water source that the water system uses and gets its water from, and that is a groundwater well with continuous chlorination. The chlorinator turns on when the well begins pumping water, and then it turns off when it stops pumping. And both the chlorinator and well pump are powered by electricity, which is provided by Pacific Gas and Electricity, also known as PG&E. Now, the water system is required to have a certified distribution operator, and this is basically an individual who maintains, operates, or makes decisions about any portion of the distribution system. For example, a certified distribution operator can make decisions about shutting down, repairing, or disinfecting broken water mains, or they can make decisions about emergency response, just to name a few. Norcal Waterworks does not currently have a certified distribution operator, but when the operator was employed, he also collected water quality samples, which are required to be taken to make sure that the water is safe to drink. And this water system is regulated by the Tehama County Local Primacy Agency, or Tehama County LPA for short. Next slide, please. Thank you. So now I'll go over the concerns that the State Water Board has with the water system. And the State Water Board intends to address these concerns through mandatory consolidation. There are two overarching concerns that the State Water Board has. The first being that the water system is poorly maintained and operated. And the second concern is that the water system lacks the necessary technical, managerial, and financial capacity to operate safely and effectively. This is also known as TMF capacity. And TMF capacity is not only important, but it is necessary for long-term sustainable operation. Okay, so let's go into more detail regarding these concerns that the State Water Board has with the water system. Technical issues. From September 2019 to present, the water system failed to take their monthly bacteriological samples. And these samples are required because it allows us to determine whether the water is contaminated with bacteria. And the effects that are associated with bacteriological contamination can include diarrhea, vomiting, cramps, nausea, and fever. Next slide, please. Oh, okay. So Because of the missed bacteriological samples and the lack of a certified distribution operator, a boil water order was issued in March 2020. This boil water order advised the customers of the water system to use only boiled tap water or bottled water for drinking or cooking purposes as a safety precaution to avoid possible stomach or intestinal illness. The Tehama County LPA also issued an enforcement action to the water system on December 21st, 2019, and then again on March 13th, 2020 for these missed bacteriological samples. A citation was also issued by the State Water Board against Norcal Waterworks on August 27th of 2020. And in addition to the violation of failing to collect monthly routine bacteriological samples, the August 2020 citation also included the following violations: failure to employ a chief and shift distribution operator that meets the necessary requirements, and we'll talk a little more about that soon. Failure to submit an electronic annual report for reporting year 2019 and 2020, and failure to provide reliable contact information in the 2018 electronic annual report. Failure to distribute the 2019 and 2020 Consumer Confidence Report to both consumers and the Tehama County LPA by July 1st of each year. Failure to report a free chlorine residual on the chain of custody for the routine bacteriological sample collected in July 2020. And failure to provide a second source of domestic water or storage capable of meeting the maximum day demand. And if you'd like more information about these violations, you can call Tia Branton with the Tehama County LPA at 530-527-8020. This next slide has to do with managerial limitations of the system. Now, one very concerning issue is that the water system lacks the staff needed to effectively manage and operate the water system. In September 2019, the water system's certified distribution operator left the system because his operator fees were not being paid. And without an operator, all the necessary water quality testing stopped. The laboratory who had previously tested the samples, which is Cramner Laboratory, reported that they had not been rehired for either sampling or operator duties and that they were still owed payment. And these are fees that should have been paid by the water system. The one bacteriological sample that was taken in August 2020 was taken by Basic Labs, and they had not been able to get in touch with the water system management since then for payment for future monthly samples. The Tehama County LPA has made multiple attempts to communicate with the water system since September of 2019, but the water system management has only replied occasionally by email, has not replied to phone calls. On multiple occasions, mail that was sent to the water system was sent back to the sender as undeliverable, and no other mailing information was available or provided by the water system. As far as financial limitations, the water system has failed to pay multiple bills, as I had previously mentioned, and the ability to consistently manage finances and pay invoices and bills is part of the necessary TMF capacity to own and operate a public water system. Outstanding invoices indicate inadequate financial capacity. So as I mentioned before, payment is still owed to Cramner Laboratory for past sampling and operating fees. In addition to this, payment to PG&E for electricity also ceased, according to the Tehama County LPA, based on their phone calls with PG&E. Now, if the electricity is ever disconnected due to non-payment, then the well pump and the chlorinator are not going to run. And if the pump stops running, the water wouldn't be pumped to the well. And then, of course, there would be an inadequate supply of water for the water system's customers. Lastly, permit and citation fees have not been paid to the Tehama County LPA or State Water Board. So to summarize, Norcal Waterworks has been struggling to provide an adequate supply of safe drinking water for the past couple of years. The main challenge is a lack of consistent, responsible administrative and managerial staff with proper TMF capacity. And it is for this reason that the State Water Board is starting the process for mandatory consolidation to address these challenges. So now to provide an overview of mandatory consolidation, I'd like to hand the mic over to Brian Kidwell. Brian?
Great, thank you, Ariel. My name is Brian Kidwell. I'm the Senior Engineer for the Northern Engagement Unit of the Division of Drinking Water. I'm going to give an overview of the mandatory consolidation process over the next few slides. So the State Board is ordering the consolidation of Norcal Waterworks and Del Oro Larkspur Meadows. Under specific circumstances and after the State Board makes certain findings, state law gives it the authority to order the consolidation of a designated water system with a receding water system. Since Norcal Waterworks has not proven that it can provide safe and affordable drinking water to its residents, and it is a disadvantaged community, it is considered a designated system in need of consolidation. Due to its proximity with the nearby water system of Del Oro, the State Board has determined that consolidation with Del Oro would be the most effective way for Norcal Waterworks residents to have access to safe drinking water. The consolidation will mean that Norcal Waterworks would be owned and operated by Del Oro and will no longer be an independent water system. All current Norcal Waterworks residents will receive their water from what will then be Del Oro's water system. So why is the State Board taking this action? As Ariel laid out earlier, there are several reasons as to why the State Board is taking this action. Due to the water quality issues, such as the missing bacteriological samples, and the financial issues, such as the inability to pay a certified operator, PG&E bills, or water quality testing, as well as managerial issues, the State Board has determined that Norcal Waterworks cannot reliably provide safe and affordable drinking water to its customers. Due to this, consolidation is the feasible next step. Section 116682 of the California Health and Safety Code gives the State Water Resource Control Board the authority to order one public water system to be consolidated with another. However, it can only do this if certain conditions exist, if it makes specific findings, and it must be done by steps that are spelled out in the law. In this part of the presentation, I will go through the steps the State Board intends to take to satisfy these requirements and accomplish what must take place, what has been done so far, and the time frame in which they must happen. The first step in this process is to officially notify the water system to be consolidated, in this case, Norcal Waterworks, and the water system that will be required to take the other water system, in this case, Del Oro, that they have 6 months to negotiate a voluntary consolidation. That notification was done in a letter to Norcal Waterworks and a letter to Del Oro dated November 17th, 2021. The next step is to hold a public meeting to inform all the ratepayers, renters, and property owners of the proposed action and gather input on the proposed action from them. Additionally, on December 10th, 2020, the State Water Board held a public meeting as part of the process of appointing an administrator to the water system. Once a full scope administrator is appointed to the water system, they will take over complete managerial control of the water system. This person and or entity can then start the process to obtain funding from the State Board to make the necessary improvements to the system and deal with other TMF issues. Additionally, the administrator will help oversee and facilitate the consolidation. I will touch on the implementation of an administrator later in this presentation. Continue on with the consolidation process. If necessary, a second public meeting will be held at the end of the voluntary negotiation period. We will also need to determine the fair market value of the existing water system. State law requires that the owner of a privately owned public water system that is ordered to consolidate with another public water system be paid for the water system at its fair market value. The consolidation order will be issued, and the management of Norcal Waterworks will then be transferred to Del Oro, and the administrator will work with the Del Oro to facilitate any necessary water system improvements. Those are the major steps that must happen to complete this project. It should be noted that this could take a few years to complete everything, including all improvements to the water system. So kind of back to the full scope administrator. So during the consolidation portion, a few slides back, I mentioned that a full scope administrator, will be implemented into Norcal Waterworks. And you may not remember what a full scope administrator is, but a full scope administrator is a person or entity who is appointed and or authorized to exercise total and complete managerial control over a designated water system. The administrator shall have all necessary licenses and certifications for the scope of appointment. For example, if the scope of the appointment includes the operation of a water system, the administrator must have certified operators and the ability to subcontract certified operators. The administrator shall also have sufficient experience in tasks that will be required of them. For example, if the administrator is required to develop a capital improvement plan or a 5-year budget, the administrator must have sufficient experience in doing so. It should be noted that an administrator will also be subject to a background check. The State Water Board views administrators as a relatively flexible tool that can be tailored to the needs of a water system. All actions taken by an administrator are required to be in the best interest of the community served by the water system and must be intended to develop the water system's capability to sustainably deliver an adequate supply of affordable, safe drinking water so that the services of the administrator are no longer necessary. It should also be noted that the proposed administrator for Norcal Waterworks is Provost and Pritchard. The State Board anticipates that Provost and Pritchard will be implemented as the administrator in the first quarter of 2022. So to talk about funding, in the consolidation section, a few slides back, I also mentioned that the administrator can start the process to obtain funding from the State Board to make necessary improvements to the system and deal with other necessary TMF issues. Thus, they can start the process of obtaining funding for mandatory consolidation. The State Board will provide funding as necessary and appropriate from the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund, Safe and Affordable Funding for Equity and Resilience Program, monies made available from the Emergency Drought Relief Package. This funding may be used for any consolidation-related work or infrastructure improvements necessary to bring the water system up to current standards. Any ratepayer, renter, or property owner who receives water from Norcal Waterworks will have the opportunity to present oral and written comments. Any comments not already submitted to the State Board prior to this meeting must be received by the State Board within 1 week of this meeting. Any such comment shall include the following information: contact information, including name and address of the commenter. Once received, the State Board will review the comments. So in summary, to recap, the purpose of initiating consolidation in combination with appointing of an administrator is to ensure safe, reliable supply of drinking water is provided to its customers for the foreseeable future and ensure the system can be sustainable. The administrator, Provost and Pritchard, will manage the system and facilitate the consolidation of Norcal Waterworks with Del Oro.